After that, we'll see some important graphical profiles for different airfoils, which are quite essential in the airfoil analysis in XFLR5. Then we'll also see the pressure profiles around airfoils. And in the end, we'll see about the finite wing downwash and induced drag as well. Also, in the end of the session, we have a XFLR5 demo also lined up for you. So hold on for that, and that will be quite helpful for you to do the assignment as well as in the future sessions. So let's start with what is an airfoil. You must have seen pictures like these, or if you have traveled in an airplane, you must have observed how its wing look like. So what an airfoil is described as the cross-sectional shape of the wing of an aircraft designed according to the mission objective. So this this shape of the this is the shape of the airfoil, that is the cross section of wing. If you look at the wing at the side on view, so you look at it at this way, and that is described as airfoil, and this shape is decided by the mission objectives for which you are designing your airfoil. All right, so let's see what are the characteristics of an airfoil. So this is the schematic of a general airfoil. So this is the shape of the airfoil in general. This is the whole airfoil, and this front part of the airfoil is termed as the leading edge. So this is the leading edge of the airfoil, and this is the trailing edge of the airfoil, that is the last part of the airfoil, and the chord, that the line joining the leading edge to the trailing edge of the airfoil is termed as the chord line. So this is the chord line, like you can see this line, this is the chord line, and this is the relative direction of airflow. That is, the airfoil is moving in this direction with the chord line aligned at this angle, and this angle is called as the angle of attack of the airfoil. So this upper part of the airfoil is termed as the upper camber, and the lower part is termed as the lower camber of the airfoil. And there are some important points within an airfoil, like the point of maximum thickness, like the point of center of pressure, and we'll look more such points in further slides. So what happens is that when you see an airfoil, it tells you its identity. Like you must have seen the names of different airfoils. You must have come across the names like these, like NACA 2412, 4412, or 0012. Whenever you read these names, there are quite important informations which these names can provide you about the airfoil. So let's have a look on what type of information these airfoil names provide you. So let's take an example of NACA 2412 airfoil. So what does this, like we'll see what these what this 4 and what all these digits mean in context to the geometry of the airfoil. So let's first see what this 2 means. So this 2 means the maximum camber of airfoil in terms of percentage of the chord length. What does that mean? First of all, the camber is defined as the difference between the upper and the lower camber. What does that mean? Like if I take any point on the airfoil, like if I take this point, so the upper camber is the distance, is this distance, the upper camber of airfoil at this point, and lower camber of the airfoil at this point is this distance. So the distance between these two, difference between these two distances is termed as the camber of airfoil at that location. So the maximum camber of an airfoil is described by the first digit of the name of the airfoil. So if this is 2, like if the first digit is 2, it says that the 2% chord length is the maximum camber. Like if the length of this chord line is 100 units in total, so that means that, so this 2 means that the maximum camber at any location of the airfoil will be about 2 units. So let's go forward, and what does this 4 means now? So this 4 means about the position of camber and in tenths of chord length. What does that mean? Like the position of camber means, like let's say that this is the point where the condition of maximum camber is occurring. Like at this point, if I calculate the camber of an airfoil, it is maximum. So this 4 tells me what is the distance of this airfoil, that is what is the distance of this maximum camber position from the leading edge. So if it is 4, and so that means it is described in 1/10 of the chord length. So that means if the total length of this chord line is 100 units, So 40, after 40 units, the maximum camber condition will be achieved. Okay, just one note that if you have any doubts, you can at any time feel free to put them in the chat. We'll answer them, and we'll also take the questions in between. And we also have quizzes lined up for you in between. So that will be shared as a poll in MS Teams with you guys, and you can answer them for better clarity. Okay, let's move forward. And what does this 1 2 and mean? So we have seen what this 2 means. We have seen what this 4, that is the second digit of the name of the airfoil, means. Now let's see what the last 2 digits of airfoil have for us. So what does this last 2 digits tell us? That this tells us the maximum thickness of airfoil in terms of chord length. The maximum thickness point, like this is the maximum thickness point. So we see what is the maximum thickness, like what is the thickness of the airfoil at this location, that is this distance. So in this particular airfoil, that is NACA 2412, the last 2 digits are 1 2, so it describes that the maximum thickness of airfoil is 12% of chord length. That means that if the chord length is of 100 units, the maximum thickness is of 12 units. So that's all what this NACA 2412 or any of these means. It's the similar nomenclature which is followed for NACA airfoils at least. So okay, so let's have a quick question here. You guys can answer it in the chat box. So I'll ask Gaurav to share the first board. Yeah, so this is the question. You have to answer what is the maximum thickness of a NACA 4424 airfoil, which has a chord length of 20 centimeters. So I request all of you to try this question and get this basic clear. Yeah, okay, so I can see maximum majority of you are answering that is 4.8 centimeter, and that's quite correct. So yeah, that's the very answer. And for those who are answering 2.4 centimeter, you can check it once again. I'll show the slide once again. The maximum thickness of airfoil in terms of chord length is provided by the last 2 digits of the airfoil name, and that is percentage of chord length. So given the length of chord length and the name of airfoil, you can find out what is the maximum thickness. So you can try that once again, and hopefully you'll get the correct answer. Okay, so if anybody has any doubt in this particular part, you can unmute and ask, or keep it in the, or put it in the chat box. Okay, so let's move forward. Yeah, so now let's have a look on the anatomy of a plane. What are the different parts of a plane which affect its flight and all those things? So this is a general schematic of an airplane. So this is the main body of an airplane, that is fuselage, and it holds all the things together. The main things which I want to describe in this, because we have also provided it in the videos which we have provided for week 1 resources. So the main things which I want to explain here are the control surfaces. So there are three different types of control surfaces in an airplane. So first one is the ailerons. So this part which you can see here is the aileron. And what is the function of this aileron? It helps in changing the role of aircraft. So you know what is roll, right? So if airplane is rotating about this particular axis, then this motion is defined as the roll of aircraft. So this ailerons control roll of aircraft. So what happens is, if this particular aileron goes downwards, so its camber is increased, and that is why the lift generated on this particular part of the wing will be larger. So this particular wing part will go upwards, And a thing to note here is that ailerons function opposite to each other. If this aileron is going downward, as I mentioned, this aileron goes upward, and due to which this part of wing will go downward. So a particular roll motion will be like this in this case. Similarly, there is one more control surface, that is rudder, and it changes the yaw of aircraft. Yaw is particularly the rotation about this particular axis of the aircraft, and in the similar fashion like the ailerons, due to the change in camber and all, the yaw motion is controlled by the rudder. And there's one more control surface, that is elevator. It particularly controls the pitch of the aircraft. It is this part which is located here, similarly working as the aileron, going upward and downward like so. And pitch is the moment, pitch is the rotation about this particular longitudinal axis of the aircraft. Okay, and one more thing is quite interesting here, that is the concept of winglet, which decreases drag. You will see at the end of session, in the middle of the session, how this winglet decreases drag. It is due to the all those wingtip vortices and induced drag part, and we'll cover that in subsequent part of today's session. Okay, that's all. Let's move forward. So, what are the typical forces which act on an airfoil? So this is a particular diagram of what forces act on an airfoil. So first of all, the weight of an airfoil is the most fundamental force which acts on particularly every object, not just airfoil. So this is obviously acts on the airfoil, and this thrust is the force which is provided by the engine of your airplane. So this can be aligned in any direction depending on the position of your engine. The two main aerodynamic forces which we consider while airplane analysis and all are the lift and drag. So what is drag? Like drag is a force which opposes the motion of an airfoil in its direction of motion. This is the direction of motion of the airfoil in this particular case, and this is the angle of attack. So drag will act always opposite to the direction of motion of this particular airfoil. And what is lift then? The aerodynamic lift acts always perpendicular to the direction of motion. So that is the these are the four main kinds of forces which act on an airfoil. So let's again have a quick poll overall on this concept so that you can get familiarized. So Gaurav, I think you can give the next poll. Yeah. So you guys can try this, like which of the following statement is correct? That is, lift is always equal to weight, thrust is always equal to drag, or thrust is always along the relative motion of wind, or drag is always parallel to relative motion. All right, so I see that most of you are getting the basics quite correctly. Like most of you are saying that drag is always parallel to relative wind motion. So yeah, that's pretty much correct. And for the person who are saying that the thrust is always along the relative motion of wind, or some person also said like lift is equal to weight, I'd like to clarify that it is in the cruise condition of an aircraft, that is a steady flight. Yeah, anybody has a question? I think somebody has unmuted. Okay, all right. So lift is equal to weight or thrust is equal to drag is the condition in a particular part of your airplane flight, that is the cruise condition, and not is always the case. as per the thrust is concerned, the thrust is not always along the relative motion of it. It depends on the position and orientation of your engines and all. There is also concept of thrust misalignment, is is based on this topic as well. Like it is not always in the relative motion of wind, and yeah, drag is always in the opposite direction of the relative wind, right? So okay, so let's move forward. Okay, so let's now see what is lift and how is it generated. Like, so we are saying that there are two aerodynamic forces, the lift and drag. So let's see how lift acts on an airfoil. So what happens is that this is an airfoil and this is a normal airflow. So when this normal airflow encounters the airfoil, it gets split up into two parts, one above the airfoil and one goes below the airfoil due to this obstruction from the leading edge. And what happens due to this distribution is that due to the geometry of this airfoil, the velocity of air above the airfoil, that is the velocity of air above the part of this airfoil, that is in this part, becomes larger than the part of than the air in the part below the airfoil. That is, the streamlines above the airfoil move at a larger speed than those below the airfoil. And why is that? Like there are many theories for it. So any basic theory is not able to explain it properly and fully at the complete sense. So we don't really explain it in quite easy terms. It's quite advanced aerodynamics and all involved. There are some theories like continuity equation, etc., but they are not quite up to the mark. So what is important for us here is the consequence of those theories. That is, the velocity of air above the airfoil part gets higher than the part below the airfoil. And what happens because of that? So remember the Bernoulli's principle. Like what happens due to this is, because the velocity of airflow above the airfoil is higher, so the pressure exerted by the air on the airfoil in the above part, that is the downward pressure that above the airfoil, that becomes less than the upward pressure due to streamlines below it. So what happens is, like this is the part where the velocity of wind is larger, so this will produce less pressure due to Bernoulli's principle, and this is the part which has a lower velocity of wind, and so this will produce a higher pressure of air on the airfoil, and that is why due to this differential pressure, that is difference between the upper and lower part of the airfoils, a lift is generated, that is a net upward pressure, and due to this is the main reason of the lift generation. The downward pressure above airfoil becomes less than the upward pressure due to streamlines below it. Yeah, so if anybody has any doubts in all these topics, like which I have covered till now, you can unmute and ask, or you can also please feel free to ask them in the chat box. All right, I guess I don't see any questions or any raised hands. So yeah, so I will further hand over to Umesh and he'll cover up the subsequent topics. And we also have a XFLR5 demo session planned for you in the end of this, towards the end of the session. So that will tell you what all are the applications of the basics which we are learning during the XFLR5 analysis of airfoils. So, okay, thank you. Umesh, you can share the slides.
Yeah, okay. I hope you can see my slides. So, okay. So now we are going to learn about the drag. So basically, what is drag? So it is generally generated by a interaction and a contact of a solid body with a fluid, and it is not generated by any force field, and it is just because of a relative motion between any body and a fluid. Okay, so this is drag. And So in today's discussion, our first drag of a fluid dynamics is a pressure drag or a form drag. So pressure drag is a force acting perpendicular to the object surface. Also, it is generated due to the flow separation. And flow separation depends on a shape and size of any particular shape. And our airfoil is designed in a such a way that it is such a way that this pressure drag is a minimum for that shape. Okay. So here you can see that in a first diagram, due to the flow separation, the drag is due to the flow separation, low pressure is generated at the back side. Then here is a higher pressure and here is a lower pressure. So the net resultant force acting toward the back side, so it's called a pressure drag. And in figure 2, the same situation is generated, but due to less amount of a flow separation, the magnitude of a pressure drag is low as compared to this. Okay. So and also the magnitude of this pressure drag is proportional to p square, which is the velocity of any aircraft. And also it is depend on a projected area perpendicular to the airflow. So I hope it's clear. So this is all about the pressure drag. um, Now we are going to learn about skin friction drag. So here within the here sorry. Okay, so here within the boundary, you can see the velocity profile is look something like this. So because of this viscous characteristic of airflow, some shear stress generated toward backward side on the wing, and it's called a skin friction line. Also, it's depends on area and velocity, area of a wingspan and velocity of aircraft, and the relation is look like this. Okay. So I this is all about the skin friction drag. I hope it's clear. Now here is a quick poll. So hello Gaurav, please put a poll in the chat, and everyone should give to answer of this that poll. Uh, so yeah, this is our question. Which of the following shape? Okay, this is second. Okay, that will second. Okay, so this is our first poll. Which of the following shape will experience maximum skin friction drag and minimum pressure drag? So, what's your answer? Please submit your vote. Yes, only one guy can answer it. Okay, see. Okay. Yeah, yeah. So you all guys give correct answer of this question. And the second question is, what is the? Sorry. What? Okay, one second. One doubt is that what is the area in a skin friction tag? It is the area तन्मय. So it is the area of a span. मतलब कि जो विंग का एरिया है ना, वो हम कंसिडर कर रहे हैं. Okay. And this is a second poll. Skin friction drag is affected by Reynolds number. Yes, yes. So many of you give correct answer. It is affected by Reynolds number. Because an Reynolds number is generally what is that is a inertial force divided by viscous force. So viscous force is affected by this shear stress, this is, and this will affect by the Reynolds number. Okay, so this is the basic phenomenon. I hope it's clear now. Now next is a profile drag. So it is basically contain both pressure drag and skin friction drag. Okay, so nothing more IMP for this drag. So next is wave drag. So this drag only acts when the speed of aircraft is moving around the speed of sound, means at high speed. So basically, we can say that it's around Mach number 1. So, what is the Mach number? It is generally denoted by the speed of aircraft divided by speed of sound. So, what happens in this case of high speed is that some shock waves created when the aircraft reaches at the Mach number 1. And if you plot a CL versus Mach number, then at the point around Mach number 1, we can see the drastic change in CD, means coefficient of drag. So it's due to the wave drag, means drastic increasing in drag. So it is due to the wave drag. Okay. So and next is interference drag. So it is due to the mixing of a airflow streamline of uh, wings and fuselage, or means any two component of airflow. As you can see here, the this interference is created by the streamline which is goes over this wing and the streamline which is goes over the fuselage. So this interference is created by this, and similar with this interference created by this wing and this turbine. This nacelle, and this interference is created by horizontal stabilizer and vertical stabilizer. Okay, so this is all about interference track, and this is okay wave drive. I hope it's clear. Now next is we are going to learn about the parasite drag. So it is very simple. It is a combination of all four drags: pressure drag, skin friction, wave, and interference. So it is uh, one second. Okay. So and it is very important to understand a drag polar. Yeah. So in that case, it is very important because drag polar, this parasitic drag is increasing with the velocity. Means high increase at a velocity is high, then parasitic drag is high. Okay. So parasitic drag. Okay. The next is lift drag and moment coefficient. So lift coefficient CL is denoted by this, and drag coefficient CD is denoted by this d by half rho v square into s, and moment coefficient Cm is denoted by m by half rho v square into s into c, where L, D, and M is respectively lift, drag, and moment. So here you can see the M. It is basically uh, a moment about center of CG, center of gravity. It is moment. If it's not mentioned, then we can identify that is as a moment about a CG. Okay. So here the C is a chord length, and rho is density, v is the velocity of aircraft, and s is the area of a wing. Okay. So this is all three type of coefficient. I hope it's clear now. And next is a graphical profile for a different airfoil. Okay, so now we are going to see how this graph generally look like, and how to read it. So that when you will use XFLFY and analyze this graph, then it will make sense to you about the behavior of this graph. Okay. And we will look into the graph of CL versus alpha, CL versus CD, and CM versus alpha, and L by D versus alpha. So these four graphs we will look. Okay. And the first is CL versus alpha, where alpha is the angle of attack. Okay, AOA. So here I am describing two type of airfoil. One is symmetric, and one is cambered. Okay. So you can see that we increase the angle of attack, then CL increases. in the beginning, and in the beginning, and after it is decreasing. So why it's happened? That why it's happened? So basic fundament is that if we increase the angle of attack, that pressure at lower surface of airfoil is increased, and the resultant force increase in upward direction. Okay, and also this CL is we can say CL is equal to L by half rho v square into area. So this CL is also proportional to lift. So we can recognize and interpret this CL as lift. So the curve goes linearly, uh, and after a certain point, lift is decreased. The reason behind that is the flow separation. The form drag is generated due to the flow separation, and pressure distribution on airfoil changes such that the lift is decreased. Okay, so basic thing is behind that is this. And also, if you talk about particular airfoil, then in a symmetric airfoil, no lift is generated at a zero angle of attack, and because why not generated? Because pressure changes in upper and lower surface is the same, and for a cambered airfoil, so for a cambered airfoil, there is some lift at a zero angle of attack or very small angle of attack, and the angle where the stall is happen is called this angle. This angle is called a stall angle. Okay, and also you can see that this point, the for this cambered airfoil, zero lift is generated at a negative angle of attack. So this is for a cambered airfoil. So this is all about the CL versus alpha curve. I hope it's clear. The next is CL versus CD curve. So first thing to noted is that parabolic relation. The CL and CD is related uh, in a parabolic relation. Okay, and okay, so we can see that CD is increasing at a higher rate than CL. So basically, CD is proportional to CL square, which we will look in a subsequent slide. Okay, and okay, so and you can find it. If uh, and also second thing is the slope of the graph is the maximum. This slope of the graph, the slope of the graph is maximum at this point. Okay, so here the L by D is the maximum, and L by D is a very important for analysis and performance of aircraft. And huh, and you might you have a question that why this is why here is not maximum slope. So in this region, so so thing behind is that is in this region delta the delta CL by delta CD is maximum, and we want a total lift and total drag. So not just a change in that. So for that we are always consider the line which is passes to the origin. Okay, so that line will give us a maximum L by D. Okay, so this is about the CL versus CD, and the relation between that we will look into the next the upcoming slide. The next is the CM versus alpha curve. Here the CM is a moment coefficient, and this is angle of attack obviously. And here the type of two type of airfoil with a positive and a negative slope. So here you have to note that you have to keep it in mind in is that the nose up is the positive CM means nose up, and negative CM means nose down, means pitch up and pitch down of an aircraft. Okay, now I want to ask a quick question about this graph. So So quick poll from Gaurav. Okay. So yeah, this is pitch slope. Once again, I hope you cannot see the graph. So let's go to one. So which slope is stable? Which slope indicates a stable aircraft? Okay. Hmm. So no answer. Oh my God. Yeah. Everybody, please give your answer in chat. Okay. So 50-50. Oh my God. Very. Okay. Yeah. Okay. It's fair. Okay. No problem. So okay. Let me explain. So you can have a brief idea that the graph is something related to stability of a aircraft. So what happened is that suppose aircraft oriented at a trim point. So what is trim point? Trim point is a equivalent point. Means this is alpha line, na, angle of attack. So suppose that the orientation of the aircraft is here. The alpha of the aircraft is here. Now what happened? So suppose that point that point some type of a gust of wind hits to the fuselage, and fuselage goes nose up, right? So now what we want to nose down for a stable flight maneuver, right? So we want some negative. So if the alpha increasing, we want some negative lift. Sorry, negative pitch moment. So negative moment is here. So this line is a define. So this line fulfill our expectation. So this airplane is stable, and also what is the difference between the airplane A and B? So it is just a relative position of aerodynamic center and center of gravity. Okay, so we are not going to go too deep on that because it's not important in our course for our course. And more about this graph we will learn in a subsequent webinar. Okay. So now the next is the L by D versus alpha curve. So this graph, you might think that this graph is just similar to the whatever we've seen so far, CL versus alpha curve. So the graph has the same features like CL versus alpha curve, and the basic phenomena behind this graph is also the same, like CL versus alpha curve में जो था. And the first linearly increase with alpha, and after it attains maximum value, uh, after it attains a maximum value, it goes down. um, it's happened because of that decrease with lift coefficient decrease with alpha at some point, and at that point drag is also increased, so the wall L by D ratio decrease. Okay, so this graph is decreased as the alpha is increasing. Okay, so originated from the Bragg polar equation. Okay, so I hope this L by D, this all four graphs is clear now. Now we have a pressure profile of airfoil. Now we know that the lift generated due to the pressure distribution, this pressure distribution around the airfoil, and it is look something like this. And here the arrow, this arrow is proportional to the difference between the pressure P and P naught, where P is a pressure in this part, pressure of means pressure on this airfoil, and P naught is a outside pressure. So it is basically the magnitude of the arrow is proportional to the difference between these two. Now, So what happened is that due to the increase in the speed of a streamline air, the pressure is decreased at here point. The pressure decrease and the pressure is higher at that point, so that the arrow is look something like this. Arrow is goes upward. Okay, and something similar here. The arrow is here. मतलब कि pressure is low here and pressure at high is here, and so pressure is the arrow is also goes upward. Means high pressure to low pressure. Sorry, uh, high pressure to low pressure. Yes. Okay. So okay. Uh, Also this distribution is also depends on angle of attack. Means the this distribution is changes with alpha. Means जैसे alpha increase करेंगे वैसे this distribution will change. Okay. So I hope it's clear the pressure airfoil of air, the pressure profile of airfoil. Now the before we are going to the before we are going to learn about the induced drag, let's take a logical piece about that. Now this is about the induced drag. Okay. So this is, will the drag characteristic of a finite wing and airfoil be the same? Here the airfoil means infinite wing. You can consider airfoil as an infinite wing. Okay. So according to this, you can give answer on it. No, 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 yeah. चाहिए. Oh, okay, so the all guys give correct answer. So now let's move forward. Okay, so this is how the tip vortices is look like for a finite wing. We can see that. Okay, so as you can see, the vortices is something look like that. Okay, so now uh, now we are going to concept of an induced drag. Okay, now how this vortices is created. Okay, so we know that the pressure at a higher region of a wing is, is a higher than मतलब कि pressure at a lower जो region है, lower region of a wing is a higher than upper wing. We know that. And wind have a so wind have a tendency to move higher pressure to lower. So because of that that reason vortices is created. So here the pressure is high, here pressure is low, so wind has tendency to move this area to this area. So because of that this vortices is created. Okay. And another thing is that due to vortices some down was created in this region of a wing of span. So this region में some downwards will created. Okay. And so because of that and due to that the airflow will tilt downward, and because of that alpha induced created, and resultant alpha is decreases. So and we know that the drag is the lift is always perpendicular to the this effective airflow. So this is lift perpendicular to the effective airflow, and the drag is always perpendicular to the relative airflow. So this is relative airflow, so drag is perpendicular to this. So you can see that the component of lift is the क्या बोलते हैं the component of lift is add in this drag. So so before I will explain, let's get to speak all about that. After I will explain you how this works. So hello. Uh, yes, this is. How do you think the induced drag will change with CR? Okay, so as you can yes means depend तो करता है how do you think yes everybody should only 4 guys will get okay 7 okay no worries. Okay, so now I will explain what happened is that so whatever changes in drag here is known as induced drag and it is known as it is denoted MHK. The magnitude of this induced drag can be written as L into alpha I. Sorry, this is L sine alpha. The component of the lift in this direction we can say that this is the L sine alpha. Okay, and if alpha is very low, then L sine alpha we can write as a sin alpha only, and alpha is also somehow tilted, but the d cos alpha, the alpha is low, then d cos alpha is approximately equal to alpha, so we are not going to define that. So this is the induced drag, and we know that the L is proportional to CL and alpha is also proportional to CL. We can we see it, we show in previous slide. So the one CL is come from this and one CL is come from this. So the DI होगा, DI will proportional to CL square, and this is some constant where AR is a aspect ratio of airplane and E is a Ostwald efficiency factor. So this is a constant which is connected to the CL square of and gives a induced drag. Okay, so this is all about from our side. Now we have a short demo of XFLR5. So I guess Piyush will explain you
Yeah,
the.
if anyone has any question before, they can ask. Else we can move on to the XFLR5 part.
Yes, yes. If you have any questions, then you can ask or you can write in a chat box. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Okay.
So now I will show you some very basic demo of XFLR5. Yes, is my screen visible?
Yeah, it's
Yeah. So this is how XFLR5 will look like when you download the software. So first we will define a new project. Then we will first you have to first design an airfoil. So you can do this in two parts. First you can directly design a foil, or you can choose Xfoil direct analysis, in which you have an option of design an airfoil. So yeah. So first we will design airfoil from this option. So there is one spline airfoils that already comes in this software. So in this software, you have one option of you can select any NACA airfoil of 4 or 5 digits. So if you have to choose any other airfoil apart from NACA, so first let's suppose we will design a NACA 2412 airfoil. To choose 2412 here, and then here is the number of panels. So more the number of panels, more time it will take to analyze. So we will choose number of panels in range of around 100 to 150. So this is how NACA 2412 airfoil will look like. You can remove the spline airfoil from here. So yeah, if you have to open airfoil from net, so you can choose this open button. So we will first see how to open an airfoil from net. So you can visit to it's available online. So yeah, here all the airfoil database is available. So we will like first, let's suppose we will select the Clark-Y airfoil. So Clark-Y airfoil is in general used in RC planes. So here is clarky.dat file. So you have to just download this file, like Control S. See that this will show you options. Select here from all files and you can like save it. So yeah, this is how Clark-Y foil is saved. So you can see that this is the Clark-Y foil data. So this data will like not be, you will not be able to analyze this data because this data is not properly arranged. So because some of the points is not converged because 0 is coming 2 times from here and from here also. So this will not be able to converge. So you have to like arrange the first top part, this part in descending order. Like this is like in increasing order. So you have to arrange this in decreasing order by removing one by one. Like remove this part from here, add it here, and like this. So I have already done it. So you can see that this is how you have to do. Then from 1 to 0, and then 0 only comes once. So yeah, from 0 to 1. So you have to like arrange the data in this format and then you can open the file. So we can like from here, we can open the file. I will show you how to open. So here is the Clark-Y data. You can open here. So yeah, you can see that the Clark-Y airfoil is now visible. So from here you can change the style and all. So here we have two options, NACA 2412 and Clark-Y. Then we have how to perform the analysis. You can like go to direct analysis and you can see that there are 5 polar graphs, and you can see that here is the pressure distribution graph of this airfoil. So from here you can change the airfoil. Let's suppose we have to perform the analysis of NACA 2412. So first we will like select NACA 009. This is a symmetric airfoil. So first I will show you that how symmetric airfoil will look like. So you can see that NACA 0009 is a symmetric airfoil. So yeah, so first we have to define an analysis from here. So type 1 and type 3 analysis is used for the 2D airfoils, that is only airfoils, and type 2 and type 4 analysis will be used for the wing when you analysis a proper wing. So yeah, for RC plane, Reynolds number is in around 300,000. Yeah, so else everything remains same. So when you define this analysis, you have the option here. So first we will perform the analysis at 0 angle of attack. So you can see that only one pressure profile is shown. It is because that the airfoil is symmetric, so both the pressure profile will be symmetrical. So that's why only one graph is shown. So when you see the pressure profile, yeah, so you can see that pressure profile is visible and it is almost same. So and lift generated is 0. When you analysis it when you have to analysis it for a particular range of particular range of angle of attack. So you can like analysis it. So for like it converges, but for some points it is not be able to converges because there is a stall happens before 15-degree angle of attack. So when you see that this is the airfoil, you can when animate it. So you will see that the amount of lift is increasing and pressure profile is changing with angle of attack. Yeah, and the point where the lift is acting, you can see this. So this is how you can see, and from here you can see that the CL angle, yeah, so at around this angle of attack, the stall happens. So up from when the angle of attack is increasing from the stall angle of attack, the graph randomize. So yeah, this is how you can see. Yeah, so you can also perform the batch analysis if you have to perform it for like I performed it for only one airfoil. You can like perform it for various 3 airfoil together. From batch analysis, we have provided you the videos, you can see it. Yeah, so this is how you use XFLR5 software, and in the videos you will see much more detail. So watch it, and yeah, in videos you have also one videos named flapped foil analysis, in which you can also analyze the aileron part as well, like airfoil with. This is the airfoil, and there is also flaps available in that design. So you can see that video. Yeah, so this is how XFLR5, you can use XFLR5 software. Yeah, if anyone has any doubt, you can ask. You can unmute yourself. Does everyone able to like install the XFLR5 software? If anyone is not able to install the software, you can like tell here in chat box or ask in Telegram group. So this is the last webinar for this week. So you have to watch the XFLR5 material in the later week, and we have also provided the assignment. So the assignment is compulsory to submit. So deadline for the same is 9 of July, 11:59 p.m. Yeah, we will announce this in the Telegram group in the Steam as well. Yeah.
Thank you for the session. Thanks.
Thanks, Kishan. If there are no doubts, maybe Umesh, like in the meeting.
Yeah, okay.